let's link up with Krista on the FYX. She's a wellness coach with a focus on mental well-being and physical strength.
What's up, guys? Coach Krista here, and you're tuning into episode 16 of The FYX, where I had the pleasure of linking up with today's guest, Bryan Baia. Bryan and I recorded this interview a few months back, I want to say around early January, and as you'll hear from our conversation, he's been quite busy over the course of the last year building out his latest business venture that is now officially live. It's a fitness and nutrition programming app called Train SB, or Stepbrothers. Before I kick it over to Bryan to share the origin story in his own words, I wanted to fill everybody in on a few of those features that are now available through the Stepbrothers programming, because we kind of talked about it at a high level detail since at the time of the recording, everything was still a little bit under wraps until the official launch in February. So if you're interested in becoming a Train SB user, what can you get? Train SB users have access to at-home and gym-based workouts, personalized meal planning, a supportive online community, and 24/7 support from Bryan and his business partner, aka his stepbrother Calvin, who answer your questions on things like, hey, I need a different exercise because I don't have access to this equipment, or that movement doesn't feel comfortable for me, or maybe you just need a different meal idea for an ingredient swap or something. And they also have access to lots of bonus educational content that's going to help you achieve the best version of you. As many of my FYX clients know, I'm all about education when it comes to understanding nutrition. And while there are so many different options out there to choose from, I was particularly excited to connect with Bryan and invite him to join us on the FYX, because I knew from his social media content alone that this guy really focuses on quality and he likes to have fun while doing it. As you'll learn from Bryan, the idea for Stepbrothers really just started in Google Hangouts over virtual Zoom workouts and the like. And while that idea itself isn't necessarily new, what I think is so cool about the Stepbrothers as a brand is that their tone and voice, coming from a trainer myself and somebody who's trying to market themselves in what is commonly referred to as a saturated industry, it's seriously refreshing. In doing research, just recording this little intro for the episode, I got lost on YouTube for a good 20 minutes because these two are seriously funny, and I guarantee you'll laugh at least once throughout the episode. So now that we've had Bryan on the FYX, I think this should be a call out to invite Calvin to join us for the next conversation. At a time when we all needed a little fun to be kind of reinfected and reignited into the fitness scene just to keep us going through 2020, Bryan and Calvin definitely stepped up to the plate, and they certainly deliver with their new app. But there's a lot more to Bryan than Bryan the trainer. Before we press record, I asked him, what's your title? Something that I always ask people just to kind of guarantee that I introduce them correctly before I turn the mic over to them. And I was like, are you a trainer? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a content creator, comedian? As you'll hear, he wears a lot of different hats. One of his other major business ventures happens to be a production company called Bread. So his response to all that, just call me the human guy. And of course, when he said that, I laughed for a few seconds. And while that's certainly a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek sort of joke, I have had some time to reflect on that since, and I think it brings up a really interesting point that I kind of want you guys to think about today. Bryan has no idea what I'm about to say, so I will preface this with the fact that this is entirely my take. But I think this quote unquote title of being the human guy or the guy really underscores the fact that we're all human beings. We're not perfect. And I think often as fitness coaches, we're expected to always have it all together at all times, that our nutrition is dialed in, our fitness programming is dialed in. And truthfully, if there's anything we've learned in the past year for so many of us, that's just definitely not the reality. And as Bryan told me directly, and you'll even hear this and see this in some of the marketing content for Train Stepbrothers, the work that Bryan did alongside of his partner to build this thing throughout COVID was just as much needed to lift his own spirit and get him out of his own funk when gyms were completely shut down in New York City and the fitness industry just really took on a new shape. I love that. And I really respect the honesty, the authenticity, and the total transparency of that mindset. I hope you guys enjoy the conversation as much as I did. And if you want to put a little fun back into your own workout routine, go check these guys out. With that, let's welcome Bryan, human guy, to the FYX podcast. What do you got going on? Why should we care about you?
I wouldn't say that anyone necessarily has to care about me, but since we are doing a podcast, I would hope someone would listen. I have a lot of things going on in my life, a lot of great things. It started with fitness, and I still, pride myself as a really good coach in the New York City region. I still have a good book of clients here in the city, even amidst COVID. During this time and over the past few years, I've launched a couple new businesses, one of them being with my stepbrother, Calvin. We run what is more of a content and virtual based fitness business and a little more community oriented here in the city and across the US. And I also have a production company in which I run with one of my partners, Kyle Manning, called Bread Productions, where we make content for businesses.
That's awesome. And with Bread, do you focus mostly on the wellness world, or do you not discriminate in terms of industry?
I'm definitely not discriminatory in any way, I promise. I started it myself kind of like in 2016 when I got a camera. And I had one of my good friends who was living with me who was really into fashion. Cool. So I'd be like, yo, let me go practice my skills, take some shots of your fits.
Okay.
We'll post them on Instagram. You'll get mad likes. Everyone thinks you're attractive. It was good. And it worked. And I just kept like harnessing the skill. And obviously, given my network in the city and fitness, I just started reaching out to people and being like, hey, let me do some work for you. Reinvested in the skill, bought better equipment. Now as I work with Kyle, I met Kyle, I think a couple of years ago, super talented young kid. He's hungry. And, we formulated the business where we really started working with people in the industry just because they're in our network. Everyone's trying to scale their business right now and they need content. But we've done other things in terms of real estate, real estate, fashion, fitness, and really think anything of the sort that anyone has a business for.
That's awesome. And have you seen more of an increase or uptick with COVID in that business? Because I think to potentially some people's surprise, like a lot of companies, because they had to be adaptable and maybe they didn't exist in like a digital way to the extent that they had to because of quarantining and lockdown. Like, have you guys seen any increase in your business because of that?
Yeah. I mean, literally once we really started pushing it I think it was August, actually. It was August when Kyle came back to New York. We were just reaching out to anyone who needed it. And that was the name of the game. It was, I have to get on the screens and I gotta make some, digestible content for people to understand what
and
I'm
professional
doing.
Looking.
Yeah,
exactly. That's awesome. Well, good for you. Well, my next question is going to be, before we get into the details of the episode, are you a coffee drinker? If you're not, I won't judge, but I feel like you probably are. And what is your go-to coffee order? Do you have a favorite coffee shop in the city? Because I know a lot of them, so let's hear it.
Wow. So actually, that's my thing. Is I do drink coffee almost every morning.
Okay.
I used to
You make it at home?
First thing in the morning. Well, it depends. It depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I got a little Four Sigmatic. They send me some stuff. Four Sigmatic is legit.
It's really good.
Yeah, and I like that, but it's tough to say my favorite. So I live in the West Village, and if you're in my area, then Blackstone Coffee Roasters is like the go-to.
Yeah, it's good.
It's everyone that's like, yo, the West Village people, they're getting their coffee there. It's delicious. Love those guys. Blue Bottle's good. But then like Gregory's, that used to be,
Gregory's is a
space in my
classic.
heart. It was close by. So that's the thing. I don't have any real emotional ties to these places. So I would have to say, number one cup is Blue Bottle.
All right, cool. Well, now that we got on past the coffee trend, let's talk about the real stuff here, even though coffee's important. Tell me about Stepbrothers. First of all, I was going to make a Stepbrothers joke, but then I figured you probably get that all the time. So I wanted to be more original. So where the heck did the name come from, and what's the impetus behind the brand?
So first off, I'll say, we don't actually get Stepbrothers jokes.
Damn,
never once. People be like, oh, it's like, people say like, should you name it Stepbrothers because of the movie? I'm just like, well, our whole thing, I mean, the truest thing we could have did to brand has been like, yeah, we're Stepbrothers. So Stepbrothers, we'll figure it out. We're painting the picture as we go. But funny story, actually, I had never watched Stepbrothers until last year. And I used to always get shit for it. And then I just made it a thing where I was like, I'm just going to be the guy who never watches Stepbrothers. Because everyone asked me, like, it's like their head would explode and be like, what? Are you serious? So I watched it last year. Great movie, of course, but like
quality film.
People go nuts for it. But anyway, me and Cuddy have been really close since about 2013 when we started training together. But we've wanted to collaborate on this level for a bit, and COVID-19 actually pushed us in that position where we had the extra time to think things out and be pushed in that direction. So the original, idea is to obviously collaborate with content. We both really like to, do a little bit of, acting, skit work. We're both knowledgeable coaches. And we, love people. We love to be able to build a community, people that have the same mission. So, we started doing that in, quarantine months. And the goal was to just keep putting out content that was informational, that was funny, and got people to be on the same page during a tough time. So really now we got a bunch of things that we're working on for the end of Q1. We're really excited. We have an app we're finishing up, campaigns in the works.
Cool.
And we're really going to make this year pop from a virtual standpoint, and see what we can really do on the ground to help get some community events together.
Do you agree that like the future of fitness studios that will be successful are the ones who have that hybrid offering? And how do you think they should be going about doing it if they want to be a mainstay versus like, look, like I personally think that big box gyms are kind of dead in the water?
Well, obviously, to answer your question, do I think it's going to be the main digit? Yes. And I think throughout all of this, in the way I've at least viewed fitness in the city is because it's actually, it's really hard for a lot of gyms to make money in the city, unless you're an absolute powerhouse. So in terms of the city, it's like you need to find multiple streams of revenue that are completely separate from people just coming in and training and memberships. So now we've made people more aware of how to, build online communities, how to, have continuity between an app and your gym. So like, everybody should have that as a gym. You should have that set up. If somebody comes in, you got to be able to have the option. For maybe
if you can't sell it to them, it's going to be their first question. If you can't sell that to them the minute they walk in the door, like you're not going to get their business.
Yeah, I mean, it gives them more options now, of course, now whether people are more remote or not. But it gives you also just it's helping you build an online platform for your brand without it being just like an Instagram or something. But it's another home for people to be there, spending money, buying merch, or just continuing to invest in the things that you offer because they care about your brand. So I think just to capitalize about all those other opportunities for revenue for your brand via the fucking phone is what all gyms should be doing.
For sure.
I just noticed, I think it was Ian Smith, the one in Jersey, who just kept defying all the COVID laws.
He's the man.
And the thing was that, that's for him, that's definitely their only stream of revenue. They probably have some t-shirts and shit as well.
Actually, you know, it's interesting you bring him up with the t-shirts, because I was looking at his Instagram the other day. He's like crushed revenue, and he even said it for these like support like gym reopening type t-shirts, and they're like, you know, American flag type shit. I think like I saw like him like pan around the room to this like area of their gym that's just like covered in shirts and merch that people ordered. And I'm sure that like he never would have thought that he was going to go that direction, because he is like the classic box gym that I'm sitting here saying, like, I don't know if that's going to make it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly, again, that's how he capitalized. You got a quick audience, and now merch, there you go. Your brand is growing from there. Yep. And now think about these people. What else do these people need that you can contribute? Is it is it online nutrition? Is it maybe you want to start white labeling your own supplements for these people? It's like, well, there you go. Now you have 4 to 5 new streams of income. So if your gym does close and something more infectious that kills half of us comes in, and the gym's not going to open, well, now you got more money you can make online.
There you go.
But now we have another disease,
right?
Which would suck. Let's not have that.
Let's leave that part out of the story. And I know we talked about bread in the context of like with Bread Productions as you just like kind of having a hobby with your camera, and then it became a situation where you could really blow it up via COVID and people needing more content. But like 4 years ago, when you first picked up that camera, did you ever expect it to evolve in what it's turning into now? And to that same end, like, do you enjoy that a little more than some of the other work you've done?
I wouldn't say I would enjoy. I'm very passionate about these things. So like, I wouldn't say I enjoy one over the other. They both have their pros, but yeah, I mean, I would have never imagined that, you know, I would be doing what I was doing now with it, and absolutely not. But I think that's the good part about it, is that when you're really immersed in something, you're just trying to get your skills up. You're just trying to improve. You're trying to just obviously be a good collaborator in business. So like, if you just stick with those principles, good things are going to happen. You'll be around the right people that are on the same wavelength. So that's really what's brought me here. And, you know, with that knowledge and that experience, I can be a lot more like calm and just more, you know, just have less anxiety about the future and what I could imagine myself to be in 5 years from now.
Sure.
You know, just want to be doing great things. So
totally. No, that makes a lot of sense. And as much as you can share, and if like you're like, we got to keep it under wraps because we're about to market and launch this whole thing and run your campaign, talk to me about your experience and process of taking Stepbrothers from what it was at the very beginning of COVID and just like creating content. And I don't know if anybody has ever like made this comparison or suggested it to you, but like, I feel like you and Calvin give me like some Sean Booth kind of vibes with like, have you ever watched what he does on his Instagram?
Sean Booth.
Okay. So he was on The Bachelorette, I think. Yeah. Or The Bachelor, one of those. And now he runs a gym in Nashville. It's called Booth Camp. Really cool gym. You should check it out. But he does these hilarious Instagram videos. He's been doing this like way before COVID. When he does announcements in his gym, he dresses up like Anchorman and has a set, and he posts them on Insta. And like, that's how they talk about everything. So it's like kind of that funny, like lighthearted vibe. But tell me how you made this transformation from just being like, let's produce some content and make people feel a little bit happier, to now let's create an app. And what has it been like for you creating an app? Because for people who don't know, creating an app is really hard, can be really hard, and can also be like a huge like money pit. So what has that been like for you guys?
Well, it started obviously the end of March, where we were just starting to make the content, come up with the ideas. And then it was one morning in April where I woke up. I was staying upstate. We were in our towns about 10 minutes apart from each other.
Yep.
And I was just disgusted. And like, that's just kind of how my brain works. Like, there was this period of like, everyone's going to feel bad about, you know, they're going to feel bad for themselves. We're all, you know, drinking more, we're eating more. No one's motivated. There was that really bad period of time.
Hell yeah,
which
dude.
I was also involved in. I was working on stuff. So that was the biggest thing, that like, I just woke up one morning and I was just like, you know, like, all right, like that's enough. And I was like, and I know people, people need to be pushed out of this rut. And like, that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm always going to be the hardest worker in the room. And I'm always going to be able to do as much as I can to provide. So like, it's up to me if I want to make it better around me. So that's what I'm going to do. And I told him, I was like, let's just we'll figure this out. We'll figure out what, which software we're going to use. I mean, we just used Google Drive and some other things, but we're just going to figure out how we can make this work. Let's, we're coaches. Let's just make the blueprint and let's market it out. And, I made even a video that day about like how let's, get out of this rut. People were like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, yeah, because we can't, sulk like this forever.
Right. And I think at the time, don't you think people thought this was going to be like super temporary, and then 3 months turned into 6 months, and then in like the summer, everyone was like, there's no way this is going to be the situation in the winter. And now look where we are.
Exactly. Yeah. So you never have the idea of what the future is going to hold. So just, keep doing the most that you can. You just can't sulk for too long. And it's obviously been tragic in many other ways, but
of course,
we just continue to harness what we had in our skills together. We coached, we kept doing it. We kept marketing it, getting more members, making skits, and we were just putting out like easy, grocery ideas.
Yeah.
But we did it throughout the whole year. We ended up ending with like 100 total members.
That's awesome.
So we're like legit, we could provide it. We could make a little money for ourselves as well to reinvest back in the biz. And now, I won't release too much about the app,
we gotta keep a little under the cuff, but like, give me, get us excited about it, Bryan.
Well, yeah, I'm hyped. I mean, we're working with an agency. We're working with Modus Athletica, nice. And we are working with them to piece together this app. It is just like super functional, and that's just like the biggest thing that obviously you can't do with the Google Drive. That was our biggest.
If only we could be that simple. Yeah.
Yeah, free Google Drive, 15 gigs of storage.
Right.
But we just need it. I knew it the whole time. It's like we just got to make it as functional as possible. And now we have a cool ass product. It's very functional. You're going to be able to have nutrition. You're going to have so many different levels of fitness.
Nice.
For the person that wants to go super hard in the gym, or the person that wants to do little things throughout the day.
Okay.
We're going to have all of that. And right now we're just finishing up the campaign. We're looking at being able to drop it in the middle of Q1.
Cool.
And it's going to be amazing. Like the whole process, I just love like the creative process of it, just working through things and learning how to do all this stuff is really exciting to me, just because I love to do it. But I think this is really going to hit the nail on the head. And it's going to be effective, and it's what people need right now. So, we just got to stay strong, keep putting out good stuff.
Totally. Now, what can we expect in terms of like, just kind of run me through like the typical content? Will it just be like accessible workout videos that you can do with or without equipment, and like a program that someone can follow for both workouts depending on their fitness level and then nutrition? Is there any sort of like, talk to me more about the community aspect of what you provide, and like that, is there a team environment? Like, what does that look like? Right.
So it is super, super useful in terms of like a person that is this lifestyle, this weight, wants to do this. You'll there's drop downs.
Awesome.
There's drop down menus for all of those different pieces that'll be able to fit, your needs. And then for the community aspect, we do have a couple things in line. Like we've done the text message marketing. We still have our text line that you can text. I believe it's 71441. You text Stepbrothers, and you'll get text updates from us. We'll update you on special deals, merch, if you're in the city, what we're doing in the city.
Nice.
So we like people involved with that. But yes, there will be some challenges. We're going to be collaborating with some cool people this year that we're going to be doing some challenges with.
Awesome.
That you can opt into. And
they'll be like kind of like a guest type trainer for like a 6-week period, like things like that.
No trainers, but just public figures.
Okay, cool.
We'll be pairing up with, and we'll be kind of like
doing the challenge in tandem with you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
And we'll make it more of like more of a show, and you can enter in, and you'll win a prize for some of the people that do the best. So.
That's very cool. I love it. I think that, I ask about that piece because I think, to the point that we made earlier about creating a sense of community, whether that's in person or online, and people wanting experiences, everybody just wants to feel like they belong to something, right? And especially because I think being in a lockdown or quarantine or isolation situation has only magnified that even more. Like, human beings were not designed to be alone. So I think that the companies that can capitalize on that in terms of like weaving that into their mission statement, their brand, and their brand story will stick out so much more than some others who are trying to do that a little bit differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Need osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
How can we make osmosis happen? Without
Yeah,
osmosis, it's not
it's
good.
true. It's so
So
true.
you need
So
it.
tell me a little bit more about, regardless of COVID, because I know we talked about, how Stepbrothers like really grew in that capacity, and same with Bread Productions. You mentioned before we started hit that record button, we talked about, you were a trainer at Equinox for a little bit, dabbled in initially what you thought would be a dietetics degree and then took it a different way. But what was the process for you going from, like literally just your traditional one-on-one personal trainer in a box gym like that one to what you're doing today with multiple businesses and brands?
Well, I was coming up on finishing my 4th year at Equinox,
Mm-hmm.
getting to the age, I think it was only like 26,
Yeah,
but getting to the point where I was just like, why am I going to continue? I mean, why am I going to continue with a commercial gym if I'm self-sufficient
sure.
on my own? Because that's the level that most people come to unless they
Right.
go through the corporate ladder there, or
Mm-hmm.
they change whatever professions.
Right.
But I knew that I wanted to get out, and I had to talk with all my clients. And obviously, the way the city works, there's tons of independent gyms throughout the city that you can decide where you want to go if it's
Yeah.
nice, and you go there. So everyone was on board, but I knew I wanted to do it. It's like a little nerve wracking in the beginning, because you're just like, oh my god, the lead system, the how, exactly, people think, how am I going to get clients?
Yeah.
They get really comfortable in the Equinox environment.
Sure.
So
It's more
I just
controlled.
needed to continue. Yeah, I need to continue to just like expose myself to what was outside of that and what people do and what it's like to have your personal brand. So I went, and this guy Jay Ferrugia, he's been a guy I followed for the longest time. He was someone I paid attention to when I came up in the ranks, and he just happened to be doing a retreat in Santa Monica, in October of that year. And I'm just like, I think it was like 1,800 bones. And I was like, I called up one of my mentors at the time, and I was like, this is worth it, right? He was like, yep, buy, bought it, went there. Amazing experience. What they were doing with the Renegade experience, or the Renegade, what did I say, retreats, were amazing. The people I met, amazing. And you were talking about Bachelorette just now. Who I met when I was there was Ben Smith from this past season, actually.
Yeah. So, yep, I know Ben.
And we met. We've been friends, since then.
Sure.
Talked to each other about growing our businesses throughout the whole period of time. So it was invaluable. It was just an amazing experience. But that was just part of the process, and that was another part of the process, and just understanding like how you need to keep relationships with people and understand
100%.
how to collaborate and
So
just
true.
continue to give. So that was great. I came back with a totally enhanced mindset, and then I was just like, let's get it. So once I made the transition out, I trained. My business was insane that year, and I trained a ton. I made a lot of money.
That's awesome.
It was very successful. And that was the 1 year. That was a 1 calendar year before, obviously, this year, COVID.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing was just taking the jump and being confident that I was going to be okay without these managers and this, that, and the
Totally.
other thing, and the structure of the corporate world. And then but the thing is, once you take that leap, it's just your life and your sphere of influence just changes in a way where people that are training with you and people around you, they respect the fact that you're doing your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's new support, there's new opportunities, there's, hey, you
For
should
sure.
do this with this person, because you're not tied to that
Totally.
bigger brand.
You have so much more flexibility and control over your brand. I think it's so true. It's like you're not tethered to anything, and you have such control over your own brand that you start aligning yourself with people who want to help. And I think like I have had so much more of appreciation for not having that like scarcity mindset. And I'm not afraid to reach out to a random person now because of those influences that I've had in my life. And I mean, for you, like, wouldn't you agree that's really how you've been able to grow your business since? Like, just like having no shame and being like, hey, what's up? Like, I think we could collaborate together sometime. Reach out, like, let's talk for 5 minutes. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It is what it is.
Yeah, and that's it. You do it without really, thinking about it, and it's like what we call like the upward spiral. You find yourself in this upward spiral of opportunities, and once they start, it kind of just, manifests from there.
Right. Right. And do you still, I know you briefly mentioned, and I don't even know if you were recording at this point, like you have some training clients, like how much are you still doing one-on-one coaching? And as you see your career beginning to evolve, especially with like launching an app and everything, is that something you'll still always continue to do because you love it? Or do you think eventually you'll get away from it completely?
Right now, I'm doing like the perfect amount of in-person
Hmm.
coaching. Before when it was last year, I was
Yeah.
doing like 8 or 9 sessions a day,
Which is, it's a lot.
full days, which
Yeah.
it's a lot of sessions. And it's like, you had some clients that were a pain in the ass, and you have,
Hmm.
it's just reality.
Yeah.
Most of these people, I told them that like, on a regular basis. But right now, I'm training everyone that I love,
Yeah.
and it's the perfect right now. It's like the perfect scenario. If I could train the clients that I love, there's some that are doing it because they want to lose a lot of weight. There's some that are doing it for general health.
Hmm.
And everyone has different goals. But these are people I really, these are people I have relationships
Sure.
with for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
So if I can continue to train the small group of people that I really like,
Hmm.
and be able to work on the other businesses in the process, that's ideal for me.
Totally. I think that's a really important point for anybody. If someone listening to this is a fitness professional and trying to navigate that, because I think like you become so conditioned to think that the only way to make the money is to do exactly what you previously described of like 9 clients a day, back to back to back, maybe eat for like 2 minutes. And then like you got to go do your workout and then you got to go do this other thing. Chances are you had no time to work on something like Stepbrothers when you were keeping that schedule.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a situation of like, do I really want to keep doing this? And how sustainable is it really? Right. I mean, that's why I like got so into nutrition coaching. And then with that, I think too, it begs the question of like, what advice would you give someone if there was a trainer out there who is similar to yourself, was either forced to leave a box gym because of COVID, or is just like tired of being in that environment and truly just burnt out? What advice do you kind of give them about like pricing?
I think it's just obviously it's relative to the market.
Hmm.
Like I trained at Equinox, it was a high ticket price
Right.
regardless.
Yeah.
So obviously my value is only going to increase if I leave Equinox,
Hmm.
because I have more time to invest in myself, my own
Sure.
brand, and the way I do things for them. Which
Right.
I can say I can do more for them.
But then that goes into like, are you good at branding your content? Are you good at packaging your message? So to then kind of segue into bread for you, how important has it been for you? Like, did you pick up the camera with the idea of knowing that like you needed to be in control of your content and you felt like, okay, this is a way I could potentially like save some money and be a little bit of a jack of all trades because I don't have to go out there and hire like a bunch of photographers and videographers to get my Instagram up to the level that I want it to be?
Yeah, I knew it was just going to be a skill that was just going to work
Mhm.
for me in a lot of different ways, and it has proved to be exactly that.
Yeah.
It's something that I was really glad that I got interested in, because I'm definitely more of an artsy guy. I like art and design and creative directing, and it ended up just being another piece of the pie.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I think that's also the big thing of like somebody making the jump to going from working in the corporate environment to then doing it on their own. Like the things that they don't realize are like using Canva and doing QuickBooks and like all the other pieces to actually running the business. Like you can't just go into it being like, yeah, I'm just going to train. Like I had the following at this gym. So like they're just going to automatically follow me. Well, you got to set up like
yeah,
your software and you need to know how to use.
right. It's a lot. And even it's crazy. It's like the more you learn, like being also in the content business is just people have no concept of what this type of stuff costs.
Right. And how much, because they don't understand how much time it takes, Bryan, because they don't do it themselves. They don't buy the equipment, which is insanely expensive. But more importantly, like my friends who look at my Instagram and know how much time it takes for me to schedule posts, put them out, like write the caption, it's because they've tried to do it before. There's other people who think it's like literally like magic.
Yeah. And it's sometimes when you talk to people about what the services are and when the dogs need their food in the background. But I think here's the biggest thing this is overall, like the biggest thing that I try to explain to people is like, before, if you had a business or whatever you had, and we had the TV or internet ads, like you had to get big bucks with the big network to get the commercial. It was just much different. Like that's how you got yourself out there and marketed. Just because now we have Instagram and all these other free mediums, that doesn't change the process of creating advertisements. Like that doesn't mean that now,
not at
like,
all. Good point.
Then it's like, what's the point? So you want to hire us for content, but you want to pay us $50. Like, like then what's the point of this content? Are you really investing in a campaign? Are you putting together a whole plan to how you're going to sell it? Like people just want to look good, but like if you invest in our company and say that you want to like do a whole project where we're going to plan like what you're going to sell, how we're going to market it, how we're going to make the videos, like that's what you spend money on for content. So like it's not that
it's not the finished product alone. It's everything that you're getting in the creative process, because like it's almost like saying like, oh fine, like go try to do it by yourself, but then you're only going to do like literally like a third of the job, because if in your head it's like just the post itself, like you kind of missed the point, right?
I'm saying just content in general. I'm just saying like people the people that want to hire people for content don't understand the price. It's like, then what, like you post your content because you're trying to grow your brand. You're trying to, you're going to put a podcast out and then you're going to go to this link to do this. There's a home for everything.
Totally.
But then there's people that just want to get photos and videos and with no actual direction or plan for their business. And they think that doing this stuff shouldn't cost so much. Well, you're not even trying to make content to build a company or a business. You're just doing it for pictures. I'm saying when it was TV, when you can only market through TV and internet, like before social media, you had to pay to get that space on the TV.
Right. Like think about what people paid for commercials for the Super Bowl. Like insane.
Yeah, like that's impact. Like you needed to pay for the impact. Now it's just like all spread it all over the place.
The barrier to entry is like nothing.
Yeah, you got to plan it out. It's worth the money.
It is. It's so true. It's like, I think that's also the differentiator of like when people wonder why, forget like the whole game of buying followers and all that shit that's happening on Instagram. It's pointless. It's completely pointless, because if your engagement sucks, like your engagement's going to suck if you purchase. And so leaving that aside, like I think it's like a combination of the barrier to entry being really low and that anyone can like download Instagram. But then it's like, if you're sitting there being like, oh, I'm producing all this really good content that doesn't have any direction, and you're wondering why you're not blowing up, it's because you don't have any direction, like with what you're doing it for. Like, oh, you
know why you're doing it.
Right. Like save the, oh, I want to take some pictures, like go to OnlyFans and do whatever you want.
Right. $9.99. You can get it that way. But you know, if you want to sell your fitness and you just want some ab pictures and you don't want to pay for them, it's just like, yo, set up yourself an app where you can, or make nutrition plans and be like, it was worth, $500 for this photo shoot of my abs because now I got a link to give people to pay for my nutrition. I used to do pictures for strongman competitions.
Okay.
And I remember I'd take pictures. I would sell the proofs for $20. And I had people like, $20 for a photo? Yeah, $20. That's dirt cheap.
It's and then a year cheap. Later, one of the people that
complained about the price, it was a year later, one of the girls that complained about the price had the picture that I took of her as a little promotional advertisement. So you got to think of the money that you're making off the picture. Like, we're not just doing this just to have the pictures. Yes, obviously if you're a hobbyist, but for business, it's like, that's why it costs money. It's an investment.
Right. So true. I think that's such a great point. I think you certainly have more of an appreciation of that because you have taken it to the next level and then launched an entirely separate business and brand with that in mind. And I think people need more people like you because the other piece of it is like, there can be lots of photographers out there who might be really good at just literally making a picture and taking the photo, but they can't carry you to the next step. Like I feel very fortunate that I have a photographer who is not only incredible at lifestyle shoots, she like understands what I'm then going to do with it. And even like the web designer that I have, like I said to her last week, I was like, I think you should stop marketing yourself as a web designer because you're like a brand strategist. Like she designed my website, but then she worked with me to build my, like, and I'm still working on this, but like a products I love page. We added a portal, like to a link to a type form where all of my clients can go and do their check-ins. And like, then she connected me with the person who's going to help me with my SEO. Like she offers so much more than just like making these pretty web pages. And those are the people who I think will ultimately in like the content world become super successful. And then you just have a leg up on that because you also understand fitness. So if people come to you, then you can like really double down and be like, well, look at what I've created. And like, I can show you exactly how to execute that. Right. I think that's why we're seeing like the Amanda Bucci world becoming these like business development coaches.
Right. Because I have the skill to do the production, but I think the biggest thing about a production, if you want to make a successful production company, you got to know what they're trying to do, and you can create the whole process of like, what moves you're going to do, or, what exactly like what exercise you're going to do.
Right.
Or
like knowing how to capture them
correctly. The business plan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Like a marble mouth over
You're good.
here.
Well, on that note, I want to be respectful of your time. And I always wrap up all of my shows with a little lightning round. So I'm just going to like fire away with a couple questions, usually based on whatever we've talked about, put you on the spot. If any of them are really intriguing to you and you want to expand on the point, feel free to go for it. But I'll ask you like 4 more questions and then we'll have you do your shameless plug so we can find out where to find you. Sound like a plan? All right, here we go. Let's see. What is your favorite exercise? Like if you could only do one for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Deadlift every day.
Perfect answer. What's your least favorite exercise?
Squatting.
What you got to do, but you don't like. You hate to squat?
Squatting.
Okay. So you're more, are you an upper body guy?
No, I love back. I love to deadlift. It's just based on my mechanics. My squat just always feels terrible. I need to have like heels lifted, all the right gear to get me in the right positions.
Yeah. I literally just had another podcast with a fit pro before this, and I asked a similar question. Deadlift was her favorite. And then I asked what she hated, and she was like Bulgarian split squats. And I was like, same. I hate anything that's like a lunge. It's just like, hard. I don't like it. I'll do it because I know I got to do it, but it's hard. 100%. What's your favorite podcast? Do you listen to a lot of podcasts?
Oh, Industry Standard with Barry Katz.
Oh, I don't know that one. I'm going to look it up.
He's the man.
Nice.
Best podcast. Yeah.
What's the best or favorite piece of like production equipment, like camera wise, that you've purchased in the last 4 years since you started Bread?
Shit, I really dig it's crazy, but I got a Sony A6500, just like a crop sensor mirrorless camera.
Okay.
I just love that thing on the go, the way it feels, the way it's just like easy run and gun camera. I love it.
Of all the ventures you're doing this coming year, like between Stepbrothers, Bread, and everything, what are you most excited about? You got a lot going on. I'm going to try to stump you.
Listen, I'm one of these people, like, I just
you get jazzed up about everything.
I'm always like super charged up about just what I'm doing in my daily processes. Like, I just love to I'm very task oriented. I'm always just like, that's how I am. But, I'm trying to think. I mean, for me, I just want to say, like, I want to go on vacation in a warm place. Like the next time I go to Cali, I don't know. That's what I'm most excited for. I want to go somewhere warm.
Hell yeah. I like it. And just like get out. So I support that 100%.
Yeah.
And if we're listening to this podcast a year from today, where do you hope to be, like in terms of like your business or maybe physically, since it sounds like you really want to go to California or Mexico? But where do you hope your businesses will be?
I just hope, I hope my businesses are just really at the point where, it's just more fluid. I mean, in business, I guess that's a terrible word to use.
No, but I
Nothing's
know what
ever
you
really
mean.
fluid. But we
I know what
just
you
did a
mean.
lot of last year was just the year of leg work. Just
Yep.
oh my God,
100%.
just leg work. And
Ugh,
I
I
just
feel
want to
that.
we saw a lot of things come to fruition, but still obviously it takes a ton of work. But I'm excited to see some things really come to fruition for all the leg work that we did, and I'm actually going to work hard through the process.
Right.
So.
It sounds like maybe you're not quite there yet, but I know you're chasing this idea, the classic of like, let's work instead of working in the weeds of the business, like let's just work on the business of like the growth of it. And it sounds like, you still have more work to do to get to that point. But I think that's definitely screaming as like a goal of yours to be able to be like, okay, like I hit the pavement, I set the systems up, I got them running, but like now let's see them like actually really go. And I'm sure like for you, like your app will really kind of bring that to light because like you said, you were on Google Drive. That's a huge transition.
You just said it exactly. It's just like all the stuff that was done in the beginning. I need that to just let's rocket that shit out of here.
Yeah, execute. Well, I love it. All right, man. What's your shameless plug? Where the hell can we find you? I'll link it all down in the show notes. But you dropped your texting phone number before, so if you can still remember it, tell us what it is.
Oh yeah, if you want to contact Stepbrothers, I think you text Stepbros to 71441. We'll send you some updates.
Perfect.
I'm on Instagram as Bryan Baia, BRYAN.
Or Human Guy.
Human Guy is my Instagram identity. My tag is BRYANBAIA, and then you can find Stepbrothers at Stepbrothers NYC, and then Bread Productions at bread.productions.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I so appreciate your time. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And thanks for everyone who listened to this episode. If you found any value with it, the best thing you can do is not even give us a rating. It's just share it with someone else. So spread the word, get the message out there. Check out Stepbrothers, check out Bread Productions if you happen to be in the fitness or just in any industry that needs online presence and needs storytelling and branding. This is one of your guys that you can hit up for that exact need. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks.